Hello, I'm Rebecca, the founder of triiyo. triiyo uses technology to enable organisations to prioritise the employee experience during every work-life transition that occurs in the workplace. And welcome to PEP Talks with triiyo, where our expert partners share advice and discuss the workplace transitions that matter to you. Keep listening as we connect the dots between what's happening in life and work, because guess what? Life happens at work. Today, we're talking to Christina from SingularityU about the future of work. Sorry, Christina, over to you. If you could give us a little intro into you and what you do.
Wow, my children still don't know what I do, Rebecca. They keep saying to me, people ask me what you do and we don't know what to tell them. So I like to say that we are helping people not only pivot in times of change, but at the moment, it feels like a bit of a pirouette. So we're very much into innovation strategy, using technology to scale, using technology to make things easier for humanity. We're very much an impact organisation. So everything we do has a social bottom line. We're aligned with the SDGs, the ESGs, anything that makes the world a better place and helps create betterment for all. We have a saying that we leave no one behind. So very much aligned with everything that triiyo does. We've been associated with you for a long time, and think that's a wonderful association for us to have. Love your line about life happening at work, because it does, and particularly over the last few years, we've noticed what those blurring lines are, and if you can make them work for you, it's not a bad thing.
Yeah, I love that you don't want to leave anyone behind, because I think that's really what we talk about at triiyo. You know, all of these life transitions that happen are often perceived to be career limiting, and they shouldn't be, because between the moment you start your career to the moment you retire, all of these things, life events happen. So, it is that mix. How do we help organizations to support their people through all of these inevitable life stages? So on that note, obviously, one of the biggest things at the moment is the Great Resignation, and some other people call it the Great Realignment. What's the difference between the two, and how challenging is it, and what is changing in the market for talent from your perspective?
So what I've noticed in conversation, and there was this big push in the beginning to go the Great Resignation, everybody's resigning. But I think at the basis of every decision that gets made, there's something about things not sitting right. And I think we're moving into a future where purpose at work plays a greater role. So if you're not aligned with what you're doing in your workplace, we're realizing in many cases that disease is dis-ease, and that's where a lot of the stress from a workplace lands itself in your body. So if you're not at ease with what you're doing on the day-to-day, it's clearly going to have a physical effect. So we also talk in terms of the age of the Great Convergence, where you can't separate life from work, from health, from the way everything is integrating, from your family life, etc., because we've had so much of our life spent in lockdown in our homes over the last few years as well. But how does that all integrate? And it's causing this I believe, this realignment. So I've been calling it the Great Realignment rather than the Great Resignation. And it's even in conversations with people that have said, you know what, I so enjoyed the extra time I had with my 12-year-old at home that I'm creating space for more of that. So I think a lot of the shortage isn't necessarily or only attributed to migration, international students, etc. I also think it's people going, I don't want to do as much. So that whole quality value has had a big play in it. And if I'm not leading a purposeful life, then I really want to be more aligned with what that purposeful life means. And, there's also people that go, I want to go to work. I don't want, I'm all care, no responsibility while I'm there. I don't want to take any of it home. That's fantastic. If somebody has that mindset, that's the future of work for one silo, if you like, of people that are there. And it's, there are many times when I envy, that kind of leave it there, do it, have it. It's great. I've fulfilled a purpose. and I'm leaving it there. Somebody like yourself, myself, in this whole world of entrepreneurship, it kind of doesn't rest there.
Yeah.
And that's
24/7, isn't it?
Yeah, but that's equally okay. You know, I think the judgments where we've gone, you need to only work 8 hours a day, or you need to do this. So I think the perception of people's lives should be from how they feel, how their body reacts. And, you know, if we take that a step further as well, and we look at how health converges into this future of work picture, some people are perfectly healthy doing that. You know, for example, if I had to sit at home and watch mindless television because someone said to me, you cannot work after the hours of I would go nuts. I would go totally insane. Whereas my joy and my fulfillment comes from this thirst for constant knowledge that I have. Someone else's joy comes in creating, you know, a hobby that's a creative fulfillment. You know, I have a friend who absolutely adores knitting scarves. She has to keep making friends so that she can keep, you know, for having new people to make scarves for. It's beautiful, you know. So, and I think that sense of what makes you who you are is a lot more greatly, or becoming a lot more greatly accepted. And if it's not in your world, whoever's listening, then it should be, even though there's no such word as should. But I think that the convergence, the realignment of how we're feeling within our lives, that purpose-driven, and whatever that purpose is, you know, whatever your purpose is, whether it's to change the climate or to improve the way that your family operations run, equally, everything is equally important to how I want to live my life as an individual. And having said that, then we need to take that into the community. So it's not just about how we react and what we want to do. I think that sense of purpose comes from what we want to do and how we react. But then how do I go out and serve my community? How do I serve my country? How do I serve the planet? So that needs to keep extending further, so that it's not just about me. Because I think the other thing that's been very noticeable over the last few years is we've survived with sense of community. You know, we've got floods, droughts, you name it, you know, everything's kind of converging on us all at once. And what has got so many people through is that sense of community. So it starts with me, and it starts with, what are my strengths? What are my unique skills? What am I here to give the world? And then how do I go out there and give them? I think that's an extremely long-winded answer to the question that you originally asked me.
It was great. And you touched on so many things there. So we've got the Great Convergence, which I think, you know, really sort of links into what we used to call the work-life balance, which never really existed and now clearly doesn't, because we're working from home. Many people are working from home. Hybrid work is here to stay. Remote work for some organizations is fully established. So we're really looking at that work-life mix. And because we have this, you know, our work is now in our home, I think that really lends itself to organizations where they say, you know, we want you to bring your whole self to work. Well, then they have to be prepared to support the whole self. And that is everything that happens within one's life, not just the professional part. And I guess that's where this sort of great realignment has come from, because in the last 2 years, we've been able to work from home. We don't need to live in the city. We can move away and really readjust how we're working and living. And then you also touched on purpose. And I love the fact, you know, I know a lot of people really struggle with this. Do I have purpose, you know, in life? And, you know, say when you have a family, sometimes your career takes, you know, second stage to, you know, running a home and running your family, particularly when children are young. And I love that you said there is no judgment in that. It's totally fine to be, this is where I am in life. My purpose is this for now. It doesn't have to be saving the world or, you know, having a huge positive impact in the community or the world, because actually the impact is within my home. And these things can change as we, you know, we move through our careers, or as our partners move through their careers. And, you know, there is this ebb and flow. It was, you know, you know, it's great to know that there is no judgment, and what works for one is actually all that matters. And then that can also change. But organizations therefore also need to be prepared to be agile in this, to retain their people and work with them with the ebbs and flows of life.
Yeah, totally agree. I also agree, though I also believe that there has to be that agility within us as individuals as well. So it's that sense of, how do I operate best? And this is why I think agreements should actually be bespoke with individuals as well. However, we do work, like many of us work for an organization, and that organization can't function unless it's working as a community. And I know there's, there was a big production organization. They were a manufacturing group, and they decreed that everybody had to go back to the workplace. And the people that were in admin or accounting or marketing went, we don't want to go back into the workplace. But the people on the floor had to go back into the workplace. So it's then dependent on an organization to go, we need the production people to come back, and that's just not negotiable. And these people will stay out, but we'll give you an extra 3 days off a year. But then you go, are they obliged to give those people 3 days off a year? Do they need to make these people come in 2 extra days or come in 2 days a week? So I think it's very much bespoke, but we have to remember, I used to do this exercise with, I was lecturing a group of creative arts business students. And they were going on one day about one of the big clubs that wasn't paying enough money for a band to perform, or that was the type of conversation. So we went through, and I said to them, okay, let's list every expense that business owner has. Everything down to the pens that people used in the admin room, to the toilet paper that was there, to like every little expense, insurances, wages, superannuations, product, it's everything, every expense. And it was almost like they then went, oh, that was a new realization. So I think the respect for the individual absolutely needs to happen. We need to I'm very much around creating bespoke conversations. So what is it that you need? And then how do we fit that into the organization? But it also goes the other way. A business owner has expenses and they're living in these difficult times as well. So how do we balance all of that? And that's part of me being a part of my community, whatever that community looks like, whether it's a church community on a Sunday, or whether it's my organizational community, or whether it's my greater friends and relatives community. We need to be agile and adapt and non-judgmental, if you like. That's really hard. Try going through a day where you're non-judgmental on everything. Whoa, it's really hard. What does that look like? So it can't just be a one-way street. And just to add one more thing to that, I was talking to a new graduate, and we had a by chance meeting. I just had a meeting with a major corporation. I was on the way out, and I happened to ask a new graduate where the train station was, because I have no sense of direction. Anyway, we then started. I found out she was a new graduate. I started the conversation about what's it like to come back into the workplace, how you finding it? She said, oh, I love being in the workplace. She said, I learn so much when I'm here. When we were at home and we were in lockdown, I was second guessing everything that I do. I didn't have anyone to shadow. I didn't have anyone to mentor. So when we take that conversation back to executives who might not want to come back into the office more than half a day a week or 1 day a week, and go, it's not only what you're contributing to the organization in your position as CFO, COO, CMO, whatever, it's also the learning factor for those coming up. So there's so many things that we need to consider, and it's all outward facing around how we want our communities to operate.
Yeah. Christina, I love that, because that is something that, I was going to bring up with you as a leader or as a manager. Particularly if we have children at home, which obviously I do, but you're also a leader of a team, or you're managing people. When you've got young people coming through, I know when the early stages of my career, you learn by osmosis. You're listening to people on the phone. How do they deal with conflict? How do they speak to people? How do they operate, in meetings, in real life? All of that you learn when you're young, as a graduate in the first 5 or so years of your career. You need that to happen in person. So as a leader or a manager, do we have an obligation to our people and at the organization we work for to make sure that we are actually raising the next generation and bringing through the future of our workplace, and training them and giving them the time they need to thrive in their career. Because yes, it would be really easy for me to stay at home. I can do school pickups, drop-offs. I'm a single parent, as you know. It makes life a lot easier for me if I don't have to do the commute into the city. But what's my obligation as a leader and as a manager to people, to the younger people that I'm bringing through within my business? And how do organizations manage those obligations of their managers and their leaders with the needs of the younger recruits and those coming through, with the needs of those managers and leaders who want to have more flexible work, but the organization needs something long-term because the younger people are their future? How do we manage all of this?
Yeah. So for me, it's conversation. And it is that flexibility. So if something happens and your school pickup goes haywire, then for me, there needs to be that flexibility to be able to say, I'm really sorry. I can't do this at 3:20 this afternoon. This has interrupted the flow. By the same token, I have also heard in organizations of someone going, oh no, I can't do a 9 o'clock client meeting, even though that might be the only time the client can meet. I have to do school drop-off. And I go, for most of my career, I had to negotiate school drop-off, school pickups, etc. So if I have a client meeting, and every single client meeting doesn't happen at 9 o'clock, but if I have a client meeting at 9 o'clock on a Tuesday, I believe that because I want to work with this organization that I am theoretically aligned to, I feel purpose in that, then I'm going to make that give and take as much as somebody might make the give and take when my 3:30 pickup went haywire and I said, hey, I need someone to cover me because I really need to go and pick the kids up because blah, 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 the buses broke down or whatever, whatever the situation might be. That's part of that flexibility. It's part of that understanding, but it's also part of the commitment that you make. Yeah. When you go to work for somebody, you are making a commitment. They've made a commitment to pay you a certain amount of money, to have superannuation, to have this hopefully flexible and agile or not. If I go and work for an organization that says, look, we're really sorry, this is how we're going to operate, my choice, I say yes or no. Yeah. And people go, yeah, but what if you need the money and you still have that choice to go, if you sign up for something, that's what you're signing up for. It's you sign up to a relationship or something and you don't go, well, I'm in this relationship until we have the first fight and then I'm out.
Yeah.
It's kind of, I think, and this is what we're working through these murky waters now. We're coming to different understandings. And I think workplace culture is absolutely paramount in how all these things will play out. And and that's why I find this great sense of purpose. I mean, 20 years ago when I was lecturing, I was saying to the students, find something that you're passionate about. Before passion and purpose became a common conversation, we were saying then, you're going to be in this field potentially, which we know now that maybe you're not, but you're going to be in this field for a long time. Make sure it's something that you feel valued in, that you feel that you are contributing to, that it works from your levels of expertise, your levels of skills. And that's, so we need flexibility, but we need that flexibility to be both ways. We can't be selfish. And that's why we go community. It starts with me. It extends to my family. It extends to my greater family, my local community, my state, my country, my planet. Where do I fit into that? And how do I make all of that better? Because even if you are focused on family and you're making that family better and you're teaching everyone in that family honesty, integrity, authenticity, purpose, trust, all the wonderful attributes, that has a ripple effect, and that has a ripple effect down into everything that happens on the planet. So whether you're doing it at this micro level in your home, equally as important as if you're doing it at this macro level out in community, because those ripples all collide at some point and they all either form an ocean that's wonderful or they smash against each other and cause a catastrophe. And that's where it's up to each of us to be flexible, agile, non-judgmental as much as we can, and go, it's not just about me. Because flexibility means flexibility. It doesn't
both ways. You
need to be flexible, but I'm not going to be flexible.
Yeah.
Two-way street.
Yeah. Christina, I love that. I love what you've said. I love the fact that we can, work on our passions and with purpose within the boundaries that we have, and the impact it has, not just on ourselves, but within our work, our family, and our broader community. I'm going to leave it there because this is a great, and I want to, we're going to continue talking. So we'll do a part B to this, but we'll wrap up this podcast here. Thank you so much for your wisdom. It's been wonderful talking to you.
Thank you for the opportunity, and thank you for the amazing work that you're doing out there in community and with businesses. It's fantastic.
Thank you, Christina. We'll speak again soon.
We will.